everybody. Welcome to Matinee Social, where you, our ticket holders, join us while we discuss the Avengers Doomsday trailer, One Piece, and Netflix's A Toxic Love Story. I'm your host, Chris, and this is my co host, Cass. So, without further ado, grab your seats and some popcorn. Let's go. So, the Avengers Doomsday trailer has dropped. And what did you think? First of all, let me just say this thing, it comes out December 18th. It has everybody in it. Patrick Stewart, Robert Downey Jr., Pedro Pascal, Chris Helmsworth, Anthony Mackie, Tom Hiddleston, Simu Liu, Chris Evans, Letitia Wright, like everybody, anybody that you could think of is in this bad boy. They did not, I feel like, leave one person out. What did you think?
Well, first of all, the crazy thing is they haven't even. That's not even all of the cast. There's people that's still in the movie that they either haven't announced, like they announced months ago, or folks that are in this that they have not announced yet. So, and then also, I do believe this is a recent tradition of the MCU trailers where there is stuff that they digitally erased in the trailer. So there are more people that are in some of these scenes than what they've actually shown. If some of these scenes are even legit and not just generated for the trailer itself, similar to like what they did with Infinity War and stuff. But thoughts on the trailer, they answered some questions that I had initially, which is what is Dr. Doom going to look like and what is his voice going to sound like? And they answered both of those because those were the biggest questions that I had going into this. It was just like, oh, what's he going to sound like? Because if he comes out sounding like Robert Downey Jr. regularly, I'm not threatened by this guy, so y'all going to have to do something else. And then it's like, also, is he going to be as comic accurate as possible? Or are y'all going to take some liberties with this? And it was like, both things have been allayed. It's like, I would have rather preferred still that Mads Mikkelsen had played Dr. Doom, but I'm fine with that as like Robert Downey Jr. for what they've shown in the trailer right now. I'm fine. I was like, I got no problems with that. From reading the comic story years ago, Time Runs Out by Jonathan Hickman. I already know kind of where this is going to go. I know kind of where the sequel is going to go. So the big interest for me are what changes are you making to bring the story to the screen? Because like all of these, like the majority of all of the other movies that they've done have been based on stories that have already been told, and they've made changes to them. And for 85% of the time, those changes have worked. Some other times it's like those changes did not work at all and they were terrible, but at least for me. But for the MCU on the whole, I've never hated any of the movies that they've done. It was like my enjoyment levels have just fluctuated. Captain America and the Winter Soldier still feel is the best MCU movie that they did. The Eternals, I was fine with it, but it's like it's not something that I'm watching again. So it was like I didn't hate it. It was like I was like, all right, you took a shot. Everything is not going to work. It was like, and that's fine. So, but this trailer kind of established some, they established some stuff. It was like, they're like, I feel like a lot of this movie is going to be a farewell to the Fox X-Men. So I think a lot of that is going to be like, hey, you guys were kind of there at the beginning, and this probably wouldn't have been possible if those first two movies weren't successful. So, thanks. And oh, by the way, Channing Tatum's here too. So we appreciate, you guys and what you did. So, thank you for your service type of thing. And then, wrap that up until they reboot all of that. And then,
Mhm.
you get a recasted younger
Characters.
version of
Mhm.
the X-Men or wherever they're going to be.
Right.
But it's like, I think like as a trailer, um, it did what it needed to do. It was like it made you somewhat curious. It gave you a shot of some of these characters together, some of these characters fighting. It didn't go into overall what the big thing was of
Right.
what everything else is going on. It was like, again, I'm cursed with knowledge, as Loki would say, because I kind of know what's going on
Mhm.
already. And it's like,
How
I'm not
dare you?
spoiling it for the audience that don't know. I was like, I'm gonna let y'all go in as blind as you can possibly go. But it was like, I just want to see if they can execute a good story with all of this stuff. That's all I
Mhm.
can really ask for.
Right.
And it's looking like, all right. It was like, I see you there. So like nitpicks that I did have as a comic book fan, Shang-Chi
It-
versus Gambit, that is not a fight. Shang-Chi beats him, takes his cards, and plays solitaire as Gambit's wondering why. So there's that. Doctor Doom being as strong as he is to kind of give Thor a problem breaking Stormbreaker. That is pretty relatively accurate because Doctor Doom
Mhm.
is like, in the comics, his armor has mystical runes as well as pieces of the true cross in it. So he's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
prepared if a vampire decides to roll up. Dr. Doom is like, nah, Dracula, it's not going down this way. It was like, I think you're going
Mhm.
to stay on the other side of the room. So, but it was like, it was like I said, as an MCU trailer, all right. It was like you figure you get a couple of more of those before December hits, and you'll
Right.
probably get one more, and then I know they're going to re-release Endgame,
Mhm.
and their scenes that they're putting in that to tie into this, I think. So you're going to have some stuff in there probably when Endgame to release the final trailer for Doomsday, and then you'll probably get the post-credit stinger for Secret Wars, which would be the next movie the following year. So, but I'm cool. But like, what did you think of this trailer
I
after?
loved it. I loved it. The fact that they even hinted at the point that so many different characters from so many different lines of their story are going to be in this. Um, I lost my mind, especially at the end where Chris Evans came back and he, Captain America, absolutely lost my mind. Because that was right after Thor said, I think it was Thor that said,
Mhm.
we're going to need something big or something, a miracle. So I just thought that was absolutely amazing. I thought the reveal of that was well done. So I am like tingling. Wait, listen. First of all, I am not one to go to the movies during holiday season at all. I hate it. There's already too much to do. However, I will break my tradition with this. Go to the movies to watch this because I am telling you, it just looked so amazing. Like I'm not gonna have a choice but to watch it. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
it's like, and it's one of those things where it's like, like you're one of those reaction type video things. Is like you have no idea what's going on. It was like
Mhm,
you didn't know anything about the casting stuff.
mhm,
So you seeing a trailer and seeing all these people
mhm,
in it is brand new to you. Whereas
mhm,
I saw the casting a while ago,
mhm,
knew who else was in it. So
mhm,
it's like it's not, to me, it's like, all right, I've seen all of the ingredients.
mhm.
Now make me this cake, and I'm hoping it's not nasty.
That
So it's like,
that's true.
so that's like in going in, and like I said, the problem with having some of this, like, oh, I read that comic years ago, and it's like, oh, I remember that story, and then having that, it was like knowing where, like, I know where the road goes for that particular form of media, and
Mhm,
then for them to take it's like, okay, we're basing the story on this, which is fine, and then seeing which direction they go, that is going to be the fun for me to see. It's like, all
mhm.
right, so what do they do with this? And
Right.
then, like I said, and then at the end, it's going to be like, all right, I see why they made the choices that they made, or it's like, I don't understand why they made that choice because XYZ was right there, and then
Mm-hmm.
this plot point makes more sense. But then, logistically wise, the characters they have available and all that other stuff. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, who knows? So it's one of those things. Like I'm looking forward to it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I've looked forward to the majority of the other MCU movies. It
Yeah.
was like I'm looking forward to it, and like I said, we'll see in December of where I am.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with I appreciate you saying that because it is true that there have been some that have come out as of late that haven't had the same um you know it hasn't hit the same as like the original ones or like the ones that came out years ago. Like and it was it because they were trying to pump out too many too fast? Was it because they expanded the universe into too many dimensions and things of that nature? Like, and there have been arguments by many individuals, those of which smarter than I, who have made arguments both ways.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, and I want
you
to thank
know.
you for saying that. Those smarter than you, because it's like it's like you talk about me, ladies and gentlemen. You talk about me, and it's all right. It's all right.
Exactly.
Sometimes you have to praise the folks that indirectly judge you
Okay.
about doing it, so it's okay. But yeah, it's like MCU wise. I think
Should have known.
the mistake they made, if you're going to call it a mistake, is
Hmm.
they just tried to do too much.
Hmm.
That was
Yeah.
like you
Hmm.
had the Infinity Saga, which was great. I don't have like the TV stuff was kind of for me a lot of the TV stuff that they released. There was only maybe two or three of the shows felt complete shows
Hmm.
before they actually had retooled how they did the shows
Hmm.
because I think they were trying to do the shows like they would do a movie, and you can't do episodic TV that way. It's either you're going to
Hmm.
make a movie and then dice it up in a show, but I think they were trying to make a movie, but then make a movie in episodic format, and I don't think that worked for a lot of the shows that they did.
I
So,
agree.
and then I think it was just too much. It was
Yeah.
like some of the stuff was just too much,
Yeah.
and it was like they paid for that, and then also some of the stuff felt like homework for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Because you
There was
have
things
to watch
yeah, it's
certain
like, it's like, well, who is
movies
this? Oh, you didn't
and
watch
shows.
such and so and so? Well, he
Hmm.
was the friggin' guy that ran the convenience store that was secretly so and so and such and such. And that's why
Exactly.
he can do all of this. And it's like, and I think like there were some stuff like they have their lessons learned.
Hmm.
And now if they can land these two movies, which I'm figuring this and then Secret Wars are going to be kind of a soft reboot of sorts,
Hmm.
then if they've learned their lessons, then they should be fine.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need to saturate the audience with stuff. And then I also think that some standalone movies that are just standalone movies and not necessarily crossing over with other stuff, you can
Hmm.
just do where it makes sense. And then you could just like leave that sit. Like, you can do a Spider-Man movie where it's just freaking Spider-Man.
Right.
It's like he don't have to have, oh, hey, Spider-Man, what are you doing? Oh, I'm at home. Oh, hey, here's my friend Magneto. Hey, what are you doing
Right.
today? Well, I was getting some nails to work on my deck and I saw that you had a problem, so I'll help you with this adventure. Thanks, man. You
Right.
don't have to do all that stuff. You
Right.
can just have Spider-Man get his butt kicked in New York by
Hmm.
himself
Hmm.
and, overcome that and be okay. It was like,
Right. Well.
I appreciate you like, oh, well, you're in New York. And yes, and there's 9,000 superheroes in New York. So everybody can't be busy when, the Empire State Building is upside down. It was like somebody needs to help. But at the same time, you can explain enough of that stuff away. You've done it in the past that everything doesn't have to be this big, gigantic crisis of nonsense. It
Well.
can just
Yeah.
be a small thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, and I'm very curious now that you bring it up because I know at one point Venom was supposed to have like some kind of showdown with Spider-Man,
Oh,
wasn't he?
don't get me started on that nonsense. Yeah,
Well, I mean,
they were like
not
they
to get you
teased it.
started on it, but
Yeah, they like
but
after the purchase of Fox, they teased like, oh, now Venom's gonna be here. But I think I think Sony has pretty much shot themselves in the face of the Spider-Man adjacent stuff that they can do without
Mm-hmm.
help from the MCU side of things,
Mm-hmm.
because from Craven to Madam Web or whatever that was, and all of the stuff they tried to did, Morbius, all that stuff they did that was not well received or not good at all.
Mm-hmm.
And Sony was just making so they can keep the Spider-Man license.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've learned enough to like, you know what, let's back off of some of that stuff
Yeah. Yeah.
and go from there. So hopefully, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I am hoping, I think like you and I both said, I am hoping that this is kind of like a bow on some aspects of it to rein it in a little bit, because like you said, a lot of it did feel like homework, because there were certain people who it's like, as you said, who is that? And it's like, well, you had to watch this show or this like one-off movie that never tied into anything else ever, on the planet, to know who it was and what role that they played, and things of that nature. And it just became it it became too much of what I feel like obviously a money grab, instead of making something that they did initially, which was good um hero films, things
Yeah.
that people would go liked and would go out and see. So I'm hoping that this is bringing it back home to that. We'll see. I'm a little
We'll
suspicious, but
see.
we'll see.
It's like Comic-Con and Marvel is in Hall H this evening. So allegedly they have a lot of announcements and stuff that they're going to make. So normally they do some kind of roadmappy type thing if they've got stuff in the pipeline. So
Hmm.
they could not get Blade off the ground, which to me is a no freaking brainer. I was like, I do not see how you not get that movie off the ground. But
Hmm.
we'll see. It was like we'll see
Okay.
what announcements they have and what goes on and what the world looks like after Spider-Man next week and the Avengers movies. Is like we'll see what they got in the pipeline.
All right. All right. Well, let's move on to your show, which I know absolutely nothing about. One Piece. That's something that you watch. You watch it on
Crunchyroll is like it
Crunchyroll.
is
Uh-huh.
like we're talking about the anime, ladies and gentlemen, not the live action show on Netflix, which is fun. It was like live action show is fun. If that's your gateway drug to get into it, then that's fine. I got no complaints about what they did in live action stuff. It is not the best anime live action that they have done. That is
Hmm.
Rurouni Kenshin, also on Netflix. There's like 4 or 5 movies of that, and that was freaking amazing. But One Piece ain't bad. Live action One Piece is not bad. So the anime One Piece, I believe I started watching that a few years ago. I was like, I
Hmm.
don't want to say it was the pandemic. It was like probably a little bit before or a little bit after that when I initially first started watching it. It's like I made an attempt initially when it was on Cartoon Network. They tried to show it and they did their Cartoon Network Warner Brothers nonsense, adding wacky music to it. I didn't like the voice acting. I was sitting there, was like, I can't watch this. This is supposed to be the number one show in the world for as far as anime goes. This is what they're watching. These people are crazy. I'm not watching this. So then after I got a Crunchyroll subscription and saw it was on there, I was like, you know what? I'll watch it in the original Japanese. I'll give it 3 or 4 episodes. I'll see what this is all about. I'll give it a try. And
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, from those original 3 or 4 episodes, I am now on 1,166 currently. That is the most recent episode. There have been 1,100 episodes of One Piece. And I have watched the majority of them. And I got to say, this is some good stuff. The anime started in 1999. So it's like, and it is still going. It was like recently this year, they decided they're going to do seasons. So this season will be 23 episodes. But
Hmm.
prior to those 23 episodes, 1,100 and some odd episodes was all season 1.
Oh
So
boy.
essentially, like it's broken up into arcs. So it's like, you can watch it and it's like, oh, here's this storyline that's 22 episodes. And then here's this other storyline that's about 10. And then here's this
Mm.
other storyline that's about 75. And then here's Wano that's like 210 episodes. So it's like, so you can watch the stories as they progress. But for me, One Piece is probably the one anime that does or just entertainment wise, in general on television, serialized TV rather, that has some of the best world building that I've seen in anything. Like a character you see in episode 10 early on talking to the main character, Monkey D. Luffy, just about, oh, you're going to be a pirate, huh? And it was like, oh, well, it's rough out there. He's like, that's all right, I can do it. Then you find out 700 episodes later, it's like, oh, crap, that's the guy he was talking about. That's the guy he was talking to. And this guy is bad news. It's like, what the hell is this? So, but to give you the brass tacks, Monkey D. Luffy decides at a young age that he is going to search for the One Piece. It is a legendary treasure that only one person found. And before that person is executed, Goldie Roger, he says, go find it. It was like, go find my treasure. And if you can find it, you can become the king of the pirates, essentially. So this starts off a great pirate era where everybody's going to look for this treasure. Nobody knows where it is, but they've hit the high seas to go look for it. And Monkey D. Luffy says, I'm going to get a pirate crew. I'm going to find this. I'm going to become king of the pirates. So then the early episodes start off with him he said, well, my ship needs a first mate. I'm going to need a navigator. I'm going to need a sniper for some reason. I was like, I'm going to need a cook. So he gets these people together to be part of his crew for the ship. And it was like his sniper is kind of a junior shipwright, so he can fix the ship and do some other stuff. So it kind of doubles in that. But he gets the cook, he gets his first mate, he gets the navigator, and he gets his shipwright / sniper. And they go on. They have a lot of adventures. They meet other people that are part of the crew. It was like, he stops, like him and his crew, they stop a civil war. They defeat God. They like kind of defeat somebody else. That guy's like, hey, you know what? It's like let's say Arlong. How would I do? It's like he took it's like, hey, we're not going to be put down by anybody. He kind of took that to heart and kind of went the extreme route with it, essentially. And he like took him down too, because he 86 Nami's mom and a bunch of other stuff. But it's like there's a lot of stuff going on in One Piece. Like some people can't get past the character designs in the early settings of it, and it's like I get that because it took me a minute. But it's like after a few episodes, I don't even see them. It was like I don't even see those character designs anymore. It's like I'm there for the story, and that's some good stuff. The manga by that the anime is based on by Ichiro Oda also still going on. So they're animating this thing while he's still writing the manga, and allegedly he's coming to the last arc of it. I don't know how long that last arc is going to be, but he's going to wrap up the story, and then the anime eventually will finish. I know that there is, I think on Netflix, they're doing basically they're reanimating some of the earlier arcs. So like you'll be able to watch earlier pieces of the story in like 20 some episodes or something. So they showed a trailer for that. I think that's going to start dropping on Netflix like sometime next year where they're going to do that. So it's like, if you don't want to try and sit and catch up on 1,000 episodes, you'll have another way to watch it where you can get maybe like some chunks of it. There's a bunch of movies that cover some of the arcs that are available out there and streaming somewhere as well. But like One Piece is, it's like I glossed over a lot of stuff because if somebody's watching this, I'm not trying to spoil stuff. So it's like I'm being very general in some of the stuff that I say. And it's like, if I've gotten some stuff wrong, I apologize. It's like I'm older. And also, this is what happens. So it's like, but like One Piece is probably the best serialized anime that I have watched in a long time, and I've watched a lot of stuff. I was like, I know a lot of people say their big three are Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece, and that's fine. I was like, but One Piece comes first. Then I would put Bleach, and it's like I watch Naruto. I'm not gonna say anything bad about Naruto. It was like Naruto was fine, but to me, that's like, it's like I would probably my big three. I would have to think about it, but One Piece would be there, and then I would have to think for the other two that I would put in that spot.
And those 3 are long running animes then.
Naruto's finished. Bleach will be the most recent episode for Bleach. Like Bleach was done, but it didn't. The anime ended, but it didn't follow the manga. So for the last few years, they've released what is called the Thousand Year Blood War arc, which basically is the ending of the manga itself, and they've animated it. So it's like the last part of that actually released today. So you can technically watch Bleach and then go into the Thousand Year Blood War and then watch the arc as it was quote unquote meant to be ended for the anime. So like that'll be done. But Naruto, the main story of Naruto has been finished for a few years
now. All right. Okay. I didn't hear Jujutsu Kaisen in there, but that's all right. We'll move right along to what I'm watching. Or I'm sorry, what I have watched. Which was Netflix's A Toxic Love Story, which was a complete mess. It came out on July 23rd of 2026, in case anybody's interested. It's a recent release. And it basically goes through the story of a woman named Michelle Hadley, who is the ex-fiance of this guy named Ian Diaz. He's a U.S. Deputy Marshal who ended up marrying some woman named Angela. Now, Angela is a mess. Okay. She had already been engaged to or was dating this other guy sometime before meeting Ian, some years prior. She had dated this guy, claiming that she had like some form of cancer, which she lied about, and claiming that she was an attorney. So the guy that she was dealing with at that time was like, let me go to your doctor's appointments with you, yada, yada, yada. And obviously, because she was lying, she wouldn't allow him to join her. Long story short, because I'm going to try and make this ridiculous story as brief as possible. He found out she was lying, kicked her out. She then ended up sometime later meeting Ian. And when she met Ian, it was pretty much a very quick, like kind of love affair, love story thing. Like she got pregnant supposedly with twins. They ended up getting engaged. But shortly after, like, she moved into this condo with this guy or whatever, and then she started getting like these emails from his ex, Michelle. And it was very like it was heavy like on the religion. It went through like, you're going to, basically regret what you've done, moving in with him, getting married, blah, 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 all that jazz. And then it went through like some more harsh stuff, like she's going to be assaulted sexually by some people. Like she was going on Craigslist, finding people who had these fantasies and kind of like, setting it up. Which I'm just going to side note real quick. They had some guy come on who was a part of this story, and he said apparently that's like a big fantasy for a lot of people. I'm just saying, I don't know what is going on with people where y'all just need to, but I digress. So he ended up being a part of it because he was going to go. As a matter of fact, he did show up to the house, but he thought better of it because he figured something was hinky. You never see the guy's face because he doesn't want to be obviously, outed. But he never went through with it. So fine. So the story goes on and on. You end up now finding out that Ian is like, I'm sorry, let me back up. Michelle gets arrested because someone does show up to the house and assault her. So now, because they ended up having like all these restraining orders and everything put on her, now the police go and arrest her. She gets charged and everything. But then you find out sometime later, after this woman has gone through trial and has been convicted, that Ian goes to the court and he's like, or to the police, and he's like, yeah, these pregnancy tests are fake. She was never pregnant. So he's trying to say that she was lying to him, where at the end of it, you find out these two peas made for the same pod, because he was in on the Craigslist, the emails, the all this and that. He knew everything that was going on. His issue was he wanted the condo. So because his ex put in the money for the condo, and that's how they pretty much set up living there. It was shortly after they moved in, he and his ex moved in, that they broke up. And then he started dealing with this woman, Angela. He didn't want to have to give up the condo. He didn't want to have to move. So he started all of this with the emails and, the assault and the harassment and all of this so that ultimately he ended up selling the condo, never gave this poor woman any of her money back. She ended up being released from prison, finding out that these two losers are both con individuals, men and women, and can't live for anything other than making other people's lives miserable. I hope they both rot in whatever cell they're in. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. They almost had this poor woman going to jail for years. As a matter of fact, she was in jail for a good minute. Years she could have been in jail for sending someone to someone else's house to assault this woman.
And this was a documentary.
Losers. This was a documentary. It's like an hour and a half. Yes, it's a documentary. Nonsense. I don't know how people live with themselves with this nonsense. I don't know how you get up and live for this kind of drama. It's insane.
That was a lot. And it's
I tried to go through it quickly.
No, it was fine, but it was just like, it was a lot. It was like, what are you doing? I was like, you know what? I don't want to give up this condo because it's pretty sweet. So we'll say we set this person up, and then it's like, you know what? I don't like the curtains in here. Let's just sell it after all this work. It was like, what the hell? It was like, you go through all of that to eventually get locked up yourself.
Right.
And then it was like, well, why did you do this? It was like, what's going on? And it's like the police interview is like, well, it was a really nice condo. It was like, that's your excuse?
Yes. Like,
all right.
I don't know. Whatever.
Evidently, with these idiots doing all this other stuff, I got to be doing something wrong. It was like some kind of way, some kind of how. It's like, I'm doing something wrong. It's like, I can't start a cult. It was like,
oh my God.
I start a cult. I'm just in the cult for the cash. So,
there's so documentaries out there.
We're just like, Casali Alleyism. It was like, send me a check for, 25. Only need 1,000 people to donate to get this church off the ground. It was like, just send it to me, guys. And, and I will bless you. Peace be with you. Always. It was like, it's just like, come on.
Yeah. It's
like,
the worst.
It's like, what are you doing? It's like, because stuff like that, it seems like you put in more work for that risk. And then, you know what? I'm not giving up this condo. We're going to do this to them. We're going to do this. We're going to set this up. It's like, they ain't never getting this done. And then turn around a few months later, you know what? We can sell this. I was like, I might even have to test this. I was like, let's just get out of it.
Worst part about it for me, I shouldn't say the worst, but one specific part about it is they showed him after they called the police for, I don't know what time this was, to have them come out and take another report for another email that she got. Because he's a U.S. Marshal, when the police come up to the condo, he's got his weapon, his weapon for his job, unholstered as they walked up, and they didn't. To me, now it was body cam footage, but I didn't see like this particular police officer's weapon out in front of him. So they could have. There were so many things wrong with this. But that in and of itself could have caused an issue, because if they thought that he was a threat, obviously,
Yeah.
but it just, again, I don't know how you, and like the religious aspect, in case anybody's curious, that they were angling on was Lilith, which was, before Eve. And yeah, it was a whole thing. She
Lilith,
kept,
queen of the monsters. It was like that. Wouldn't that be your clue that it's like something was not right with these groups? And it was like, oh, our deity is Lilith. Hold on. I watched some episodes of Supernatural, and Lilith was kind of the queen of the monsters, guys.
No,
and
Lilith was not the queen of the monsters.
But you know what I mean? It's like after
Yeah.
a while, like, that's where I'm going. Is like I'm not overly familiar with the Bible, but if you tell me it's like, oh yeah, we follow Lilith, I'm like, It's like you might as well say you follow Cersei. Because now I got some questions. Either you queen of the monsters or you turn the people into animals, and both of those are not religions I want to really probably partake in at this present time. It was like, not religious shaming. You do what you do, namaste. But I'm going to stay there.
Well, what happened really quick, and then we're gonna wrap this up because this is ridiculous. But what happened was, after she broke up with Ian, she did write some emails and reference Lilith, but he just took it and kept it going. Like he took it. He was like, oh, now I have something that I can like piggyback on and like just draw it out or whatever. That's what he did. Ended up things that he was doing, and I guess like the police come into her house and things of that nature. I'm sorry, let me walk that back. Wasn't the police coming to it? Was when they were going through their breakup, because he'd asked her apparently if she would be willing to entertain other men while he watched, which she was not comfortable with, which was kind of led to their breakup. But she said it put her in a bad mental state because it's not something that she wanted to do. So this guy, Ian, this is why I said he's a mess. And I hope that he and Angela, y'all, I've never seen where it's always odd where people who have like weird agendas like this always seem to attract each other and whatnot like that. Because she already was running some kind of game, but then ended up both of them running game together for selfish reasons, and I just don't understand the mentality. But all right, whatever. I'm sorry, I just got off on a tangent. All right, guys, so we're gonna wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please take the time to like, share, and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it, as we are just trying to launch this thing off the ground. So cheers, guys. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Cass, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, $25 for Cassialism. Send those checks to me. And I will make sure that your prayers are answered as I put good thoughts into the universe for you.
Cheers, guys.